Good morning and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. It's Saturday morning, I'm on the dog walk and I'm going to do a video today on the subject of panoramas. Now, we live in the countryside, as you can see around us. This is the Weald of Kent. It's not the most picturesque part of the world. It doesn't have big mountains and big lakes and things, but it's not too bad and it's a nice day. We've got some nice fluffy clouds, so we've got some nice horizon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to a location where I can actually take some wide panoramas, and I'm going to show the difference between doing it with small increments of rotation on the camera and also large increments and irregularity. And what I'm trying to do is see whether or not it's even worth having a camera on a tripod to do a panorama. Most people do panoramas by using a tripod and then incrementing incredibly accurately each shot one from the next. Now, personally, I've never done that. I rarely use tripod in that way. I simply put it on there, take 3 or 4 shots, don't worry too much about how much they overlap, and then stitch them together in Photoshop or Lightroom, and that normally works perfectly well. But what I'm going to do is take some shots with the increments being perfectly equal and level, and some shots where they're not, and see really if there's a difference, and therefore whether it's necessary to have a tripod to do it in the first place. Let's see how we get on. Okay, I've taken the shots. I've walked a little bit further round than I was originally in the promotional start of the video, and I walked up the bank of the reservoir, which you can see in these shots. The reservoir's behind me, and it's just high enough to get a little bit of a sort of a better view of the area. And I took a series of images with my little Sony RX100 Mark7. The first one on the left here was taken, it's 10 images. This whole stretch is about 150 degrees, 140 degrees, something like that. And I took 10 images with a small equal increment with the camera, admittedly handheld, but actually very firmly handheld, and was very careful to make sure that everything didn't move, and I got the horizon in the center all the time for each shot. And although I had to judge the increments, I think I judged them pretty fairly. Anyway, the left-hand image here is a stitch using the panorama facility in Lightroom of those 10 images. And the image on the right is only taken with 3 images with a very, very small marginal overlap between them. The field of vision is about half of the screen, so the first image would be this much, the second image would be about that much, and the last image would be about that much. And I've also cropped off a little bit from the top and bottom of both images. Now, what I can see if I zoom into 100% is, and synchronize the 2 images, the detail is absolutely fine. I've got no problem with the detail anywhere, even in the very edge of the images. I zoom out and I can see that apart from a very slight framing difference, the one on the right's actually got this piece of tree here lower than the one on the left here for some reason. It might be that I used the automatically fill the edges feature of Lightroom's panorama, and it's probably just interpreted this corner slightly differently to this corner. But at the end of the day, from my eyes, it is incredibly difficult to notice any difference between these 2 images, panoramas. The houses in the distance here, which are approximately a mile away, look crisp enough considering. The lens was at its widest, so it's approximately a 24mm lens or thereabouts when used this wide. And we've got 2 images here that with close inspection, I can't really fault either of them. And the conclusion I have to say that I'm forming here is that there is no reason to have a very large number of images stitched together to make a panorama. A small number, as long as they're reasonably overlapping, is going to work perfectly well. So equally, do you need a tripod? I think you need a tripod if the light conditions dictate the shutter speed's going to be too low. But if the light, as it was here, is very bright and you're getting a decent shutter speed, these are all taken at, in one case, 1/200th, and in the second case at 1/320th, then there is no issue of movement. So as long as you're reasonably careful as you move the camera from shot to shot, it's not necessary to have a tripod or an expensive indexing head or anything like that for casual panoramas like this. So that's pretty much my conclusion, that you don't necessarily need a tripod to do panoramas, and you also don't need to take 10 shots when 3 or 4 can suffice. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I didn't go through the process of actually stitching them together, because I'm sure most people know how to stitch panoramas together in Lightroom. So that's my conclusion from this little video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to keep up with my rather odd content and somewhat controversial content on occasions. Anyway, till the next video, goodbye. Well, as ever, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.